Town Hall. I'm Steve Waldron with EFL Associates, and I'll be serving as today's facilitator. Our town hall is designed to allow all of Missouri Southern state stakeholders to have an opportunity to meet the candidates, both through our in-person audience, and thank you very much for coming today, and also through streaming video. Today's format will include a brief presentation by the candidates, followed by a rather robust Q&A session. So there have been some questions that have been pre-submitted, and we will also receive questions live from the audience and from our streaming audience as well. So again, we'll have the opportunity to supplement those questions. The candidates have not been given the questions ahead of time. So that is our format today, and we're looking forward to getting started. So without any further ado, I'll introduce our first candidate. He's a graduate from Princeton University, where he received his PhD and a master's. Also has a master's degree from Oxford University and a bachelor's from Harvard. He was at the University of Kansas for several years, and then Southern Methodist University, and most recently, the president at Hendrix College. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Bill Tsutsui.
Well, thanks so much, Steve. It is a true honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. Thanks to everyone who braved coming in person. I will say it's the few, the proud, who are actually in the auditorium. Thanks to everyone who is joining virtually. Thank you all for choosing to spend this time with me rather than rushing out to get a haircut, because I know I need one. I also really want to express my appreciation to the Board of Governors and to the Presidential Search Advisory Committee. I just want to tell all of you that the committee was really tremendous in representing Missouri Southern to the candidates. If the rest of y'all are even half as thoughtful, enthusiastic, warm, and genuinely committed to this university as that group of people are, then I'll tell you, President of Missouri Southern really is the best job in the world. Now, it's a really dangerous thing to give a historian a podium and a microphone, but I'm going to work hard to keep myself within the allotted 15 minutes. Let me just start by giving a quick overview of what I want to address with you. First, a few words about me and the path that brought me here to Joplin today. Then I'll talk a little bit about why this job is so attractive and why I could be a good fit for it. I'll touch briefly on vision for the university, and then I want to finish up by addressing the current extraordinary moment and what the future might look like for Missouri Southern as we navigate this pandemic and its aftermath. So, I was born in New York City and raised in Central Texas, and I consider myself a Texan. Please don't hate me. It was not my choice. My parents took me there. My mother and father were both professors, and I really grew up on the campus at Texas A&M. My mom would pick me up after school. She'd take me back to her office, and she'd say, "Be back here in 2 hours." So consequently, I spent a lot of time in the library. I was up on the roof of every building on that campus, and by the end of my childhood, I think I knew every Texas A&M police officer on a first-name basis. I watched my first Godzilla movie when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I fell in love. I found the real love of my life about 15 years later, though, when I met Marjorie in grad school. We've been married for almost 31 years now, and especially since we've survived a couple months of social isolation together, I think we're hitched for good. I have a real affection for Japan, where my dad was born, and for travel in general. I'm a cat person, a big barbecue fan, a tolerably good bowler. I'm about 175 average if I practice a little bit. And 7 years ago, I went on the fast diet and lost 108 pounds. And here's the one deep, dark secret I will share from you. I was once a student in law school for all of 6 weeks before I dropped out in utter misery. Now, I know there are some lawyers in this room, and I really don't want to offend anyone, but I'll tell y'all, dropping out of law school was the best decision I've ever made in my life. Now, y'all have seen my resume, and at least if you've done your homework for today. So y'all will know all about my academic and administrative appointments. I started my career at the University of Kansas, where I really came to love this part of the world and really appreciate how important public higher education is to providing opportunity to a state and its people. I swear that at KU, I served on every single committee and held every administrative post, from taking the minutes at departmental meetings to being associate dean. After 17 years in Lawrence, Marjorie and I headed down to SMU, where I was dean of the College of Humanities and Sciences and learned a huge amount about strategic planning, branding and marketing, and especially fundraising. I didn't really care for the big city, though. Too much traffic, too much air pollution, and too many people who were so busy they didn't really have time for each other. So in 2014, I became president of Hendrix College, which is a wonderful, very traditional liberal arts college. I loved the community there, and we accomplished a lot together in fundraising, in supporting diversity on our campus, and in building a series of innovative new programs. But after meeting our goal in a $110 million fundraising campaign, a year ahead of schedule, completing the work of a 5-year strategic plan, and gaining reaccreditation from the HLC, I decided it was time to reflect, recharge a little, and think about some new directions for my life and career. Now, I am very acutely aware that I am a very privileged person. I have been blessed with some wonderful opportunities in my life and have served some exceptional colleges and universities. But at this point in my career, I don't need another line on my resume and another fancy title. In what is hopefully my last stop before retirement, I am really eager to join an institution whose values align closely with my own, and an institution which is making real contributions to the greatest issues facing our society today. I'm inspired by Missouri Southern, which is so committed to accessibility and student success, so invested in the transformative power of higher education, and so deeply rooted in the region which it serves. Now more so than ever in my life, I want to be part of something I can believe in, and I can believe in the mission of Missouri Southern and the wonderful work that you all are doing here. I'm very bullish on regional public comprehensive universities, especially in a moment of anxiety and uncertainty like the one we now face. My wife and I are very fond of Joplin, which is beautiful and warm-hearted and resilient and dynamic. And as you will know, we've spent most of our professional careers rotating around Southwest Missouri, from Kansas to North Texas to Arkansas. And I'll be honest with you, I am thrilled that Missouri Southern is not a project. It is not broken. It does not need fixing. The last 2 administrative jobs I took on were full-scale turnarounds, which were great challenges for me, and I learned a great deal, but also required a huge amount of heavy lifting. At Missouri Southern, it seems the new president will be able to build on a lot of existing momentum and focus on elevating the school and its profile. I love the work that Missouri Southern is doing right now. The on-the-move concurrent enrollment program, the anticipated degree in industrial engineering, empowering you, planning for the Spectrum Center, the whole way the strategic plan is being diffused across campus, the commitment to service here, the strong honors program, and the real investment in global perspectives. This is great stuff. And to be able to jump right into these projects and then work with the campus and the community to dream even bigger and accomplish even more, that's truly exciting to me. So, what would I bring to the table? Because honestly, y'all are doing okay without me right now. Well, even though it seems like Missouri Southern is in a very strong position in many ways, we are going to be facing some rough waters ahead for higher education. If we thought the challenges of changing demographics, tight state budgets, and declining public faith in higher ed were bad enough, the added strain on America's colleges and universities from the pandemic and its economic fallout are going to be acute, and I suspect with us for quite a long time. At a moment like this, universities are going to need seasoned leaders. Presidents who know the ropes of one of the most demanding executive jobs around, who have track records of calm, creative, and successful management in trying times, and who have a breadth of experience in higher education. I believe I offer a unique and valuable set of skills to Missouri Southern at this unprecedented moment, experience I've built up from a career of wearing many hats in a wide range of institutions, large and small, public and private. But I don't just bring a long CV. I would also bring a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and commitment to Missouri Southern. As I hope you'll see today, even if you're tuning in virtually, I'm an upbeat, energetic person. I'm very much a people person, and I really think of myself as a retail politician, someone who is never happier than when they are out there, talking with students on campus, meeting with faculty and staff, in the community, in the media, conversing and engaging and promoting. And of course, were I to become president here, I would want to be out there from day one, listening, asking questions, learning about Missouri Southern, what it does great, what it could do better, and what dreams you have for its future. It would be presumptuous of me to come here today and tell you I had a fully formed personal vision for Missouri Southern. I don't know enough yet. I don't know you all well enough yet. A president's vision must be absolutely aligned with a campus's and community's vision. Otherwise, the university will never flourish and be all that it can be. The statement of vision in your strategic plan is clear and it is compelling. And since it was developed, I think, in a broadly based, inclusive fashion by students, faculty, staff, the governors, and the larger community, I really hope folks are on board with it. Your strategic plan seems like a strong one to me. Even though COVID-19 has upset so much in our world, the basic values in that plan should remain the same, and the priorities laid out there will continue to be critical ones for the university. Missouri Southern will need to be flexible and agile through what surely will be substantial changes in the landscape of American higher education over the coming years, but this university should not abandon its shared mission and sense of identity, nor should it give up on what is a strong strategic roadmap headed forward. Retention and graduation rates are critical. The focus on recruiting and enrollment cannot waver. Enhancing academic quality, accessibility, and student outcomes are of fundamental importance. Developing new programs that meet the needs of students and employers is essential. Supporting research, sustaining and growing partnerships, and encouraging service and experiential learning are just smart. In the simplest terms, Missouri Southern needs to keep delivering on its value proposition to students, giving people a strong education at an affordable price, keeping people in school, getting them graduated, and producing graduates ready for life and career. And it needs to keep upping at its game in a very competitive marketplace in American higher education today. In all of this, branding and marketing cannot be ignored. Nobody really wants to be a hidden gem or a well-kept secret. And I'll tell you, knowing what I now know about what's happening on this campus, Missouri Southern is indeed a hidden gem and a well-kept secret. A major priority for me would be amplifying Missouri Southern's message and the impact of that message at a time when there is so much in this world competing for our attention. This is essential to recruiting, to building the school's profile and reputation, to fundraising, and of course, to helping out in Jefferson City as well. So let me turn in the couple minutes I have left to the elephant in every room and on every Zoom meeting these days, the ongoing global pandemic and its impact. Kudos to y'all for turning on a dime and adjusting and adapting, surviving and maybe even thriving and learning something new in a time of unprecedented disruption. We are all going to need to keep channeling that flexibility and resourcefulness in the months ahead. I've seen some of the posts that Missouri Southern faculty and staff have put up on social media supporting and motivating students, and they speak really highly to your commitment and professionalism and real caring for others. I know the administration and board here have been looking at a lot of scenarios, doing a lot of planning, and working extremely hard, thinking very deeply, and consulting broadly. I haven't been privy to all those discussions, needless to say, so all I can really tell you is how I, as a leader, would approach the uncertain path ahead. Needless to say, the safety and security of this campus and the community would be top of mind for me. This is a uniquely stressful time, so the university also needs to be very aware of the anxiety that is affecting all students, faculty, and staff right now. We always need to keep the most vulnerable in our thoughts and plans, whether that's those with underlying conditions or in high-risk groups, students with the greatest financial and personal challenges, contingent faculty, lower-wage staff, or international students. In short, this university has to be even more sensitive than usual to the well-being of its community. The institution has to show empathy and compassion, needs to listen carefully and communicate well, and has to live up to its values and mission, even as it struggles to deal with a rapidly changing course of events. Now is a time for Missouri Southern to really show its heart. At the same time, this is a moment when the whole community needs to come together to use its collective smarts to imagine, plan, and implement ways of bringing life to this campus again. The announcement last week of the intention to have in-person classes in the fall is, I think, a wise one. Everyone needs to be cognizant of this institution's role in economic recovery for Joplin and the region. Everyone needs to be aware of the desire of students to be back on campus, learning and interacting together in clubs and sports and the performing arts and 1,000 other ways. Everyone needs to be sensitive to the importance of having faculty and staff on the job and finding their bearings toward a new normal. And everyone needs to work to ensure the university's financial health over the short and longer terms. Science is an important guide, and close coordination with the leadership of the city and county and state is a must. But being reactive isn't enough, and just focusing on crisis control isn't sufficient, even under such unusual circumstances. The university must also be actively looking for opportunities and must use this moment to address important questions that often go unasked and lay the groundwork for a better institution and a stronger community on the other side of the crisis. What kind of qualifications are people going to need in a post-COVID economy? How are they going to want their education delivered? How are they going to be able to afford it? How is this university going to evolve and grow? And how can Missouri Southern step forward now to really make its case in Joplin and Jeff City and beyond for the critical importance of higher education in general, and this university in particular, to individuals, to the economy, and to society in a time of recovery and rebuilding? I know everyone is desperate for some certainty, but at this point, the best anyone may be able to say with real confidence is that this is a very strong university playing an absolutely pivotal role in this region, and one way or another, there will be teaching and learning and research and service going on here next semester and next year and for generations to come. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience in listening to me. I know I went over. And thank you for committing so deeply to a great school. Missouri Southern is going to have a bright future, and I would be honored and humbled to be a part of it. And I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Tsutsui. Are you ready to roll here with the
Let's hit
Q&A?
it.
All right. Question number one, fiscal and budget. The ability to establish priorities, especially in a changing fiscal environment, is critical. How would you approach a realignment of investment opportunities to position the university for success while working with budget challenges?
First of all, let me talk about the issue in there of realigning priorities and positioning the university for success. We've got a good plan on that in our strategic plan. We've got the roadmap there. A lot of things are going to change in the months and years ahead, but the basic values outlined there are not going to. I really think looking forward, while there is going to be a lot of discussion of delivery methods, do we need to be more online? Are people really going to want to come back to classes? I think things are going to change less than a lot of us assume they might. I think people are hungry to be back on class and back on campus. And so those priorities laid out in that strategic plan continue to be every bit as important as they were before any of us have heard of a novel coronavirus. Retention and graduation rates, improving academic quality, promoting research, building partnerships in the community, seeking efficiencies. These are all playing that basic game in higher education. The schools that are able to do that well and stay focused, I think, are going to be successful going forward. Let me talk about the larger issue, I think, in that question, which is really about the budget and how we approach that. And it's impossible to approach that now, I think, without approaching it within the context of the situation we find ourselves in with the global pandemic and its economic repercussions. So let me just talk a little bit about how I view this looking forward and how I've looked at dealing with the budget through my career. First of all, my focus is always first on opportunity and on revenues. I think these are going to be promising days ahead for regional comprehensive public universities like Missouri Southern that have a strong value proposition, that have a history of delivering for their students, and that have a strong vocational focus. Recessions have tended to be good for institutions like this in the past, and I think the same is going to happen this time around. So one of the key things right now, I think, a lot of schools are focused on making cuts and getting back into class. I think there has to be an equal focus on this time as to where can we develop new programs and try to find some new resources to attract students and generate revenue on our campus. There are opportunities right now. At this moment, a lot of people seem to be interested not in multi-year degree programs, not in committing to go back to school for a year or two or more, but looking at short-term opportunities to upskill. To learn something that can build their resume, that can help them hold their current job. I think a lot of people are seeing this as a relatively short-term recession right now, so something that'll get me through the summer and put me in a stronger position come the fall. And we need to be sure that we are offering them those options in a variety of different formats in affordable ways. I've heard from a lot of folks around the country that summer programs seem to be enrolling well nationally because people want to get out there and put some new skills in their tool belt at this time. So we really need to look hard into that. There are lots of opportunities here, programs at Missouri Southern that are very strong, that are going to continue to be areas of interest going forward. Business, education, health sciences, criminal justice and law enforcement, anything related to computers and computer science. Over the longer term, and perhaps as the recovery takes a little bit longer than many people think it might, Missouri Southern really needs to look to expand its master's program offerings. I was surprised, given the quality of this institution, how few master's programs there were. I think there's some room in the marketplace for that, and as people are looking to really power up their careers in the future, that option needs to be out there. In all of this, we need to work very closely with the campus community, with students, faculty, and staff to tap into good ideas, and we need to work with the larger community, with employers in particular, to get a sense of where that demand is and what those preferred delivery options are. Also on the revenue side, we cannot let up on fundraising. okay? It's going to be a tough time, but we need to be out there saying, look at all the great things we're doing for students. Look at all the number of first-generation students on this campus, students with real need. Help us at this moment. And as I mentioned in my talk, we should not give up on state and federal support. This is a time to plant the flag for higher education. I've been really disappointed at this moment that colleges and universities are not coming together to make a collective case for why higher education is so critical to economic recovery. We need to start with that immediately in Missouri, and really we need to do that across the country. Controlling costs is a big issue. You know, every administrative job I've been in, I've had to cut budgets. It is no fun, okay? There are a few things I've kept in my mind over those years, however, things that have always guided me in this process. Keep the institutional mission, keep strategic priorities always in sight. Protect the student educational experience and experience beyond the classroom as much as you possibly can. Never forget the people who have given so much of their life and career to this institution, so that means the faculty and staff. Look hard at administrative costs and bring as many people into the tent as you possibly can to be part of finding solutions to the issues that you face. And in this, I think empowering you could play a very big role on this campus. There are different philosophies for addressing a budget. A lot really depends on whether you see this as being a temporary downturn or a long-term downturn. There are a lot of theories out there about what this recovery look like. Is it going to be a V with a quick recovery? That's optimistic, it seems to me. Is it going to be a U where we still come out of it really fast? Is it going to be a W? Is it going to be an L, which is the worst of all, which is what the Japanese economy did in the 1990s? That's very much going to determine how we handle it and how we look at these issues, whether it's across the board belt tightening that we work on, and that's usually where I like to start. I know there's some people who say, you know, you should cut strategically and cut deep from the very start. My feeling has always been, at the beginning, try to spread those cuts as broadly as possible. Look very closely at discretionary spending, freeze down on hiring and salary increases. Look hard at administrative costs, and especially administrative salaries. Take temporary reductions if necessary there, and try to gain control that way. If budget savings have to go beyond that, either because the recovery looks like it's going to take quite a while, or the numbers are simply large, then more targeted strategic reductions have to be on the table. That's a tough process, but it's one that has to be considered. What is going to be good for the long-term health of the institution while doing no permanent damage and respecting the commitment of faculty and staff on the campus and the needs of the students. My commitment in all this is to work closely with the campus community, work closely with faculty, staff, and students, work very closely, of course, with the leadership team and with the board and with key external stakeholders, and to be empathetic, to be smart, to bring minds and hearts of this campus together and figure out what is best for our long-term health.
Governance. What has been your experience with shared governance, and what is your vision for how shared governance should work on a university campus?
Yeah, I just want to note that I came up through the faculty ranks, you know. I am a historian at heart. I'm a professor at heart. I served on the KU Faculty Senate. I served on the Faculty Executive Committee, and I had plenty of tangles with the administration there. My mother was one of the founders of the Faculty Senate at Texas A&M University, and if you go down to College Station and ask people about her, the old-timers will remember her as a real rabble-rouser down there. But even though I'm now over on the dark side of administration, I am still a strong believer in shared governance because I think it's in the best interest of the institution and everyone associated with it. Let me tell a story from my days at SMU. The Board of Trustees at Southern Methodist University was an impressive bunch. A lot of billionaires, CEOs, real luminaries from the Dallas business community, and they were constantly frustrated by the slow pace of change in the academic world. They said, you know, back in my company, if I had a bright idea and I wanted to implement it, it'd take place in 60 days or 30 days or 30 minutes. But here at the university, there's a bright idea and it takes 2 years for it to come about. Whereas Gerald Turner, who was the long-serving president at SMU, always responded to this in this exact same way. The oldest institutions in Western civilization are the church and universities. And these institutions are so enduring precisely because they are so intentional and careful about making change. Okay? And really, the message I think he was putting forward there, the way I read this is, they are careful and they are inclusive in making change. Shared governance is part of the success of the higher education system in the United States, and we can never forget that. I think it's really interesting that today the notion of shareholder capitalism is one that's being widely discussed, and this is opposed to stockholder capitalism. It was a major topic at the Davos conference. The Business Roundtable made a big announcement about it last summer, saying this should be the model for American corporations going forward. Essentially, shareholder capitalism means an organization should be run for the benefit of all its stakeholders, for employees, for clients and customers, for owners, for the community, and also for the good of the greater world. And that's in contrast to shareholder capitalism, where a company is run for the benefit of the owners alone, for making return on capital. And this is interesting because philosophically, stakeholder capitalism is very much a piece with shared governance. And it tickles me a bit that the business community is actually looking now to universities for some ways forward, even though they don't really want to admit it. Business never wants to admit they learn from us. One of the things I really love about academic life and about academic administration is being able to work on difficult issues. And there are a huge amount of difficult issues on every college campus, with a community of smart, committed, passionate individuals who bring a wide range of different perspectives and different opinions to tough conversations. Shared governance provides a structure to this process and ensures that key stakeholders have input on the decision-making process. Different stakeholders have different roles. The faculty own the curriculum. The administration is in charge of coordination, making hard decisions and having accountability. The board is there to provide fiduciary and strategic oversight and to bring expertise from outside the campus to bear on the institution. The key to all of this is working together for the collective good. Planning and decision-making need to be transparent, consultative, and inclusive. Without shared governance, people don't feel buy-in to the organization. They don't feel true membership. They don't feel investment in its decisions. And I think it is necessary for institutional success. So I'm a true believer, but shared governance looks different in different organizations. At Hendrix College, we're a very traditional liberal arts college. We have New England town hall style democracy. Okay? It's like a Norman Rockwell painting. The faculty gets together once a month. They can ask the president anything. They can vote anything they want. It's really pretty neat. But shared governance is different in different places, and I look forward to learning what it is like here and how it can work best. As I said, I'm very impressed with Empowering You. I really embrace its values of transparency and inclusion, and I think it is something powerful for the university to have, especially in the potentially troubled days ahead.
Thank you. We had several questions about this next topic that we've kind of kludged into one. So if you were hired, how would you use this position to increase and enhance diversity?
Yep. So let me just say, speaking personally, that diversity is something very close to my heart as a Japanese American. And I realize that Asian Americans are not an underrepresented minority in academics. Nonetheless, I have been surprised by how many times in my career I have found myself the only person of color on a committee or in a meeting room. and how fired up I have really been to drive change. Diversity was really the centerpiece of my presidency at Hendrix College, and something I'm very proud of. When I arrived on that campus, I found a community whose hearts were in the right place, but who had never really been challenged to act on their values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like many liberal arts colleges, it remained a place for privileged young kids from the suburbs. And so I committed, we're gonna make a difference here. In my inaugural address, I challenged the community. Hendrix College needs to look like Arkansas and the nation. We need to be as diverse as this state is. Because if we can't do it in a community of about 1,500 really enlightened, committed, passionate people, give up hope on the American dream. Okay? So I said, let's focus down on this. And looking like Arkansas and the nation was a pretty high goal for that community. When I arrived in Conway, Hendrix was 2 to 3% African American, 2 to 3% Hispanic. Okay? Arkansas is 15% African American, 7 to 8% Hispanic. Immediately set to work on this. We redid our statement of purpose, our mission statement, which to me was exclusionary in its language. I asked the faculty, staff, and students to develop a new diversity statement, which was passed unanimously by the faculty and the board. I appointed the first chief diversity officer in college history. I established, with the really wonderful support and leadership of my board chair, a standing committee on our board of trustees on diversity and inclusion. And I worked to establish partnerships in the community to build a pipeline for Hendrix for diverse students, students of color and students with the greatest financial need. And we reached out and formed partnerships with schools and organizations across central Arkansas and the Delta, and with LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, that provided extremely generous scholarships and support structures to these students who came to campus. The community really rallied and embraced this. And I used my bully pulpit. Every time I spoke to that community, I talked about our goals in diversity and inclusion. I talked about our aspirations in that regard, and I benchmarked how we were doing. And we have made considerable success in many respects. Hendrix has had the 3 most diverse recruiting classes in its history the past 3 years. 25 to 30% students of color. We have doubled the proportion of Pell-eligible students in our community from 15% to about 30% today. And we have, by all measures, the most diverse campus in our history. It took a lot of work from a lot of people. Diversity is not one of those things where you can say, we are going to do A, B, and C, check the boxes, and then move on. Diversity is an ongoing, moving target, and the community has to be committed to stay on it over the long term. This community has done tremendous work in that regard. We need to keep doing it. We need to redouble our efforts. One of my biggest frustrations at Hendrix is when it came to diversifying our faculty, for every 1 step forward, we took 2 steps back. And I would like to work even harder here to make sure we can be successful in that regard. Because until there are those role models out there, until we get those leaders on campus in sufficient numbers, we will never reach our goal of really driving change.
This next question is a little bit more focused.
Okay.
And it comes not only from the questions that were already submitted ahead of time, but it also came from one of our streaming members. What do you think the role of art, music, and theater departments have in creating a campus culture and engaging with the community?
So you're talking to something I really care a huge amount about. You know, I've spent the last 6 years at a liberal arts college. I'm a historian, so I'm in the humanities, which is right next door to the creative and performing arts. So I care very deeply about these disciplines and what they add educationally and extracurricularly to the college experience. In many ways, they're very much like the addition that sports make to a community. They provide wonderful participatory opportunities for students, and they also perform a form of outreach to the larger community, a way of attracting populations who might otherwise never set foot on the Missouri Southern campus to come here and hear a concert, see a theatrical performance or a recital or so forth. So, you know, to me, they have always been extraordinarily important. I made that commitment very real at Hendrix. One of our primary investments there was in new facilities for our music, film, and visual arts programs. When I arrived on campus, I noticed Hendrix had a very vibrant arts community, but all of the arts facilities were arrayed on the edges of campus. One was way down a street towards the center of town, and you know, in a very tight and contained community, it seemed like it was in Siberia. It was so far off. I think a lot of people just didn't even know where the art buildings were. Same thing with theater, same thing with music. I said, we got to do more. We got to bring these right to the center of campus. So I met with the departments, heard their needs, and realized that the arts are something that people really want to donate money to support. That a lot of people care deeply about these, and this was a huge development opportunity. So we came up collectively with the idea of bundling some new dormitory space with performing and visual arts space, and created something called the Creative Quad, which ended up being a 57,000 square foot complex right smack dab in the center of campus. We replaced the old dining hall, which had been abandoned for about 15 years. It was a nice habitat for raccoons and possums, but otherwise was not adding a lot as an amenity to our campus. Dropped in this new facility, which on the ground floor had entirely new music office practice and classroom facilities, a new industry standard film screening room, and a brand new art museum. That was some of the easiest fundraising I ever did. People were so thrilled to see these arts facilities coming to campus. Up above were dormitories, and said, create this idea that students can really live in dialogue with the arts. What I love most about it is, you know, in Arkansas, the standard in fundraising is getting money from the Walton family. And Hendrix had never had a penny from the Waltons. As soon as we made that investment, some doors began to open. And we managed to squeeze a $500,000 gift out of the Walton Family Foundation for construction. Now, there's a part of me that said, oh, $500,000 is get lost money from the Waltons, right? You know, that's all we're ever going to get. Darn it, if after we got that grant, they didn't come back 6 months later and say, we want to give you some more. We think you're doing great things. We want to give you money for endowments. They give us another $1 million for endowment. Now we have a partnership with Crystal Bridges, and some of the exhibitions that are up there are going to be coming down to Conway. And you know what the great thing about that is? When I went to the Waltons, when I went to the other donors, when I said, what is this museum going to do? I said, well, no undergraduate at Hendrix College is going to be able to leave and graduate without having been directly exposed to the fine arts, to music, to film. But importantly, I will swear to you, every 5th and 6th grader in Faulkner County, Arkansas, is going to come through this museum. They are going to have an early exposure to Hendrix. They are going to love it, and they're going to want to come here when they go to college. So there's a huge amount of outreach that is possible, and the fine arts are intrinsic to the higher education experience.
Well, this next question comes from our streaming community, and it probably won't surprise you after talking about the arts, but here's the question. I would very much like to hear your views on the role of athletics programs in the community of higher education. How much of a priority would be building and growing athletic programs and facilities here at Missouri Southern?
Yep, you know, I'm a very unlikely supporter of intercollegiate athletics. I did not play sports in college. I have virtually no athletic talent. Naturally, it's a miracle I can even walk sometimes, I think. But I have really come to appreciate the value of athletics, both intercollegiate and club athletics, to the health of a community and the success of a higher educational institution. At the University of Kansas, I served as the chair of the athletics committee. Which is still a little bit hard for me to believe, considering at a D1 school I was the chair of the athletics committee. And it turns out, in retrospect, it was a moment when there were just so many rules violations going on you couldn't count them. And it was all perfectly hidden from us. But that didn't get me jaded or cynical. When I came to Hendrix, I realized how important athletics were to our community. Hendrix is a D3 school, so it really is the perfect model of the student athlete. I think D2 has a lot to recommend it as well. I would not want to be a president of a D1 school. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I saw how hard that was for Gerald Turner at SMU. It was during conference realignment. He spent more time worried about the Big East and Conference USA than he did about the academic quality of the institution, and that's not right, in my opinion. That being said, at Conway, I've been very involved with the athletics program. We have approached it very strategically. We have seen it as a way of growing our student body, of delivering educational opportunities and leadership opportunities to our students as a form of outreach to the communities, a way of attracting people to visit our campus and catch the Hendrix spirit. We have added new sports during my time there. I never thought I'd be the president that brought beach volleyball to a campus, but we had it. I never thought of myself as the president who would make esports a varsity sport either, but we did that as well. And we also made some tough decisions as well, because there were some sports that were not sustainable. Hendrix was the first school in Arkansas to have women's field hockey as a sport. We were sort of hoping field hockey would catch on in Arkansas. It did not. So it was really hard for us to recruit, even to find people to play. So we decided to discontinue our field hockey program. I've been very involved in the NCAA. I've been on the D3 President's Council. I've served on the Minority Opportunities and Interests Committee, which in some ways is one of the more powerful committees at the NCAA. I knew nothing about it when I joined it. I think I was put on as an Asian American token on that committee. That's the committee that's responsible for doing away with Native American mascots in college sports. It was initiative from that group that led universities across the country to change their mascots, including Hendrix College, which used to be the Indian Warriors. Okay? That's powerful. That shows the ability of sports to drive change. I arrived at Hendrix when football was a year old. Hendrix had gone 53 years without a football team. And it came back a year before I arrived. It was an extraordinarily controversial decision. Alumni hated the idea, faculty hated the idea, students hated the idea. There almost was no one in favor of it except for the board and the president, and that was not me, that was my predecessor. I give them credit for sticking with that decision, and there was plenty of opposition. But they decided it was good for the school because it was going to help with recruiting, help recruiting men, help recruiting students of color. It was going to have an impact on spirit on campus and beyond. And even though everyone was worried as heck when it got started, it delivered on all those promises. Great coach was hired, became a quality program, became a winning program after 2 or 3 years, and it has really had a transformative effect on raising school spirit, on bringing alums back to campus on the weekends, and bringing community members to campus as well. And I was able to see in that experience that sports goes well beyond just the experience of folks out there playing on the field and can really affect a whole institution and its placement.
This question goes back to faculty.
Yep.
So a little bit of information ahead of time. So current full-time faculty teach 4 loads. 60% of the salaried time is dedicated to teaching. 20% is dedicated to scholarship and research. And 20% is dedicated to service. Given the institution's interest in moving towards more scholarly and graduate level work, how do you envision the realignment of faculty responsibilities and workload, especially with regard to tenure and promotion guidelines?
Yep. Let me just say, faculty here worked incredibly hard. A 4-4 load is pretty brutal. And it is impressive to me seeing the impact you have on students and the results you get from them, what you were able to accomplish with that heavy load. It is frankly miraculous that anyone can do any research whatsoever with a 4-4 load. And I think that is something that definitely determines, calls for further attention. I was also struck to see how few sabbaticals there are on this campus. There needs to be more support. If this university is really going to have a research mission and a research mandate, people need to be given time to do that. And I am not sure myself where within a 4-4 load and 2 sabbaticals on campus a year, people have time to really do significant research. There are all too many universities out there where the administration sort of waves the magic wand and says, thou shalt do research, thou shalt win grants, okay? All sounds good, but boy, it takes a lot of infrastructure, it takes a lot of support, it takes a lot of planning to do that, and people need time and help in that. So I think it's very important. At SMU, we prioritized research, but we also realized we had to put investment in it if we wanted to see returns. So I hired a new associate dean for research. One of my faculty members, very successful grant getter in the psychology department. I said to her, do up a plan. How can we support people? How can we help them? In my time there, in my 4 years, she worked on the plan, she started implementing the plan. We saw no impact in those 4 years. It's only after I left that impact started to show, that faculty were getting more successful in getting grants. Faculty were getting more productive in their research. And I believe getting to tenure and promotion standards, those have to be realistic based on how people spend their time. And if this is a system where people are spending the vast majority of their time doing their teaching, that evaluation needs to be of paramount importance.
This next question is kind of fun. If you could change one thing in higher education, just one thing, what would it be? And then probably the hardest part, how would you implement it?
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to answer that in a very unfair fashion because the one thing I'd like to change in higher education is that government actually supports it adequately. Because I would like to see states recognize and the federal government recognize the importance of higher education to our nation. Okay, it is all well and good for politicians to say free college tuition. Show me the money on free college tuition. Fund universities adequately to do the job they were meant to do. That investment will pay off. I will tell you, the work that's done on a campus like this one in Missouri Southern enriches the community in ways we cannot even measure in economic impact statements. So I would like to see even going beyond where we used to be. Everyone thinks there was a sort of golden age when the government gave enough. I tell you, even back in that golden age, universities only managed to balance the books because faculty and staff are so darn idealistic that they worked for below market wages. We really need a system that accords higher education the support it needs and deserves.
Next question, this is from our virtual audience. How do you view information technology and its role in the post-pandemic new normal?
Yeah, that's a really big question, and I wish I had any good answer about the new normal to give. That is the cloudiest crystal ball out there right now. And I think it is almost inevitable that technology is going to play a larger role in higher education in the future. We've seen its value in giving us flexibility over the past 8 weeks. Without the technology we have, I cannot imagine how we could have gotten through this situation. Does that mean we're going to go all online education? I read an op-ed piece by Jeb Bush recently saying, now's the tipping point. Now we're all going to go online. I don't think that's true. I think Some people who've been teaching online during these unusual times will see something there they're really interested in and might be more eager to teach online classes in the future and to learn more. But I don't think it is going to radically change the number of students or faculty who see online as the preferred source of educational delivery and learning. You know, there are other ways in which this might change higher education. I think one way is in which I've never heard so many people say to me how important it was to have open access publications before, that when you're stuck at home and can't go to the library and check out a book, it's really important to have materials that you can use online. And so I think it's going to accelerate that process of putting more research, teaching, scholarly material available to all online.
Southern serves a global mission. Can you speak to the support of and direction of our international mission, especially in today's post-pandemic society?
So the first time I came to Missouri Southern, I think, was in 2001 when I spoke at the Gokul Symposium. It was Japan year then, and I had a great experience of being on this campus. I was impressed by the students, I was impressed by the faculty and staff, and I was impressed by the international mission. And I'm glad in the intervening 2 decades that global perspective remains on this campus. You know, I think there is a lot of concern going forward. There's been a lot of concern over the past few years about isolationist tendencies in America, this desire to maybe pull away from global engagement. I think the current moment shows more than ever before how interconnected the world is and how much we need to know about the rest of the world and maintain our connections there. It's going to be a while before we're back doing the kind of study abroad we did before coronavirus. But I think young people are still going to want to go out and experience other cultures. It is still critical that they have an awareness of those other cultures, just to be educated, critical, skeptical members of our society. And I think it's wonderful. It's a real attraction to me to have that as a feature of Missouri Southern.
We have about 20 minutes left, and I've been kind of concentrating on the questions that were pre-populated and then some that have come in. Does anybody in the audience, the live audience, have something that they'd like to ask? Yes, sir.
The question is, a lot of times low enrollment programs at the state level tend to be targeted for elimination. I want to know how important he thinks low enrollment are and what or
how important low enrollment programs. The question is, how important do you think low enrollment programs are? What was the rest?
And how would you protect them?
And how would you protect them?
The state often targets low enrollment programs. These are essential to our liberal arts universities. So how would you protect them, prevent them from getting cut? What are their importance?
So let me tell you a story from my days at SMU. So I arrived at Dedman College. Everybody was in the dumps. The college seemed to be going nowhere. It had poor leadership, 5 deans in 5 years, had no respect on campus, and some bad decisions had been made. I looked at that college and I said, you know what one of the problems has been here? It's been a divide and conquer strategy. Deans have come in and said, I'm going to pick that program and that's going to be my prince. And I am going to heap resources on that program and watch it grow and then brag about that. And to heap resources on that program, I'm going to suck it away from the losers, right? And that created a very adversarial environment on campus. It was not healthy, you know? And so I said, you know what? We need a rising all boats strategy here. We need to invest across the college. We need to increase interdisciplinary connections that bring everyone into something larger, and we need to work with the low enrollment programs to bring them up. You know, in many cases, these programs didn't know what they needed to do to be favored. You know, set some goals for them. You know, help them increase enrollments and be a larger part of the academic and teaching life of campus. I took a lot of heat for that decision. As part of our strategic plan to raise all boats rather than pick winners and losers, the trustees at SMU tended to be good Darwinians. They believed that some needed to swim and some needed to sink. And the chair of the board of trustees, who was a very, very smart businessman, came to my office one day to dress me down. And he said, essentially, you know, if purses aren't selling at Neiman Marcus, what do? Well, I said, they try harder to sell purses. He said, no, they stopped selling purses. It's like, they're not stopping selling purses at Neiman Marcus. I said to him, you know, I understand where you're coming from. I understand, you know, why you think we should cut the philosophy department. I'll tell you why I think we need a philosophy department to offer a viable liberal arts education on this campus, but give me a year. Let me try this strategy. Let me see what it can achieve. Darn it, after a year, we had not only increased morale on our campus considerably, okay, but a lot of those low-performing programs had begun to pick up because they were no longer the ones who were left behind, who were in danger, who were planning, who were spending most of their time defending themselves to ward off being shut down or further punished by the administration, but could focus on ways to grow. It wasn't a big change, but psychologically it was empowering. And that trustee ultimately came back to me and said, Bill, I hate to admit it, but I think you might have been right about pulling everyone up rather than picking winners and losers.
What role?
Yeah, that's a great question. The question was, what role do staff play in shared governance? That's part of the beauty, I think, of the shareholder capitalism model, that all people in the organization are part of the goals of the organization. Not just faculty, not just students, not just the board, but staff as well. I'm really thrilled that there's a staff senate here at Missouri Southern. I'm glad they're active. I'm glad they had a representative on the search committee. I'm glad they were in meetings with me today. When I arrived at Hendrix, we had nothing like that. Staff were in a subsidiary position. In fact, to the extent that when an announcement was going to campus from the president, it was sent to the board first, then they waited a minute and sent it to the faculty, then they waited another minute and sent it to staff. Craziness to me. We are all in this together. Everyone needs to know and share in this information. So from the very start, I undertook a lot of work to bring staff to the table. So I realigned the senior leadership team to bring our vice president for human resources onto that team. That's the person who knew the staff the best and interacted with them, who really was looking out for them, and I wanted to make sure she was in on all the important decisions. When I came, there was a faculty representative to the board of trustees. I added a student representative in my first year, and a couple years later added a staff representative as well. Our faculty executive committee had student representatives on it, and I encouraged them to add a staff representative as well, so all that could be represented there, because there were a lot of important discussions taking place at that level. And basically, as much as possible, I have found ways to empower staff and give them a larger voice. It is very hard for staff on a campus. I understand that they feel vulnerable, but the leadership really needs to hear their honest and unvarnished opinions sometime. And I hope that can happen here at Missouri Southern through the Staff Senate and through the Empowering You program, because unless that is true, staff can never feel like authentic members of this community. They can never feel the real belonging that we all need to be a successful whole.
Let's move to town and gown.
Okay.
What is your vision for continued relational development between the university, the city of Joplin, and the surrounding communities?
Yeah, you know, As I mentioned in my comments, I'm a real retail politician. I love being out there. In Conway, I cannot count how many ribbon cuttings, events, festivals, and so forth I went to. I was a moderately active member of the Rotary Club. One of my great experiences, every year I went to Toadsuck Days, which is the local festival in Conway, Arkansas. It shocked me when I first said it when I went there, but now I'm used to it. One year I was in the VIP toad race at Toadsuck Days, and I am not ashamed to say I was beaten by the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas, by Miss UCA, and by an 8-year-old. I am used to being out there and love making those connections. One of the real strengths of Missouri Southern is the way it is woven so closely into the Joplin community. Just being on campus today and hearing the stories about the generations and families that have been to this university and seen their lives transformed by this university and then gone out to shape this community, it is really inspiring to hear. That is something that cannot be lost and has to be furthered. And the president, of course, has to be the ambassador-in-chief. The president has to do some dumb things, like the occasional toad race, but also needs to devote the time to be part of this larger community. One of the things I loved about Arkansas, and I said all the time, was Arkansas is a one-phone call state. That on the campus at Hendrix, there was someone who could call anybody in the state of Arkansas and get something done. Get a favor, get an interview for a student, find an internship, help with a problem. Clearly, Joplin's that kind of place as well. Having those tight networks and those close interconnections has been crucial to the success of Missouri Southern, and having Missouri Southern so dedicated to this city has made Joplin the dynamic and growing place that it is.
In your defense, though, that was a highly athletic 8-year-old.
No kid. Well, he knows the strategy for racing toads, which I can share with people afterwards. Next time, I would win.
Program question. What's your vision as to the depth and breadth of undergraduate and graduate degree offerings by the university?
Yeah, you know, I'm impressed by both the depth and breadth of offerings right now. Frankly, I don't know how y'all do it. You know, the wide number of degrees and certificates that this campus offers is truly stunning, you know, and you put a huge array of options there in front of students. As I mentioned earlier, I think things are a little bit thin on the master's program offering side. I think this community is large enough to sustain more, and clearly the faculty has the quality to do more in that regard. I'm sure it is an issue of staffing and time, that people are stretched thin already, and how do we do that without further resources? That's one of those resource allocation issues we clearly need to look at. As I look at high growth areas going forward, probably the biggest area of growth potential I see right now is in computer science and related field areas. And that's one of the reasons I like the planning for the Spectrum Center. Even at the Liberal Arts College of Hendrix, interest in computer science has grown astronomically over the past 5 years. And there certainly are many opportunities there for creating the programs that help people upskill. It's a shame with Missouri Southern in this community if people have to go online, for example, to get certifications, licenses, or degrees in these areas. And more investment there, I think, could be repaid.
I'm going to try to kludge two questions together, because one is a pre-populated question and one comes from the streaming community. And so there may be opposite sides of the same coin. The first is about communication. What strategies you would use to ensure the flow of communications to and from all groups here at Southern. The one from the streaming audience is about silos and how you combat those. They just seem to be two sides of the same coin.
Yep. I can talk about communications in several ways. One thing is I need to know what the culture is in this community and how people like to be communicated with. I will tell you, Hendrix College is not the kind of place that works on memos. Okay, the president can't communicate with the community there by typing something on the computer. It is face-to-face communication. It's at those faculty meetings, it's at staff meetings, it's at student senate, it's one-to-one on the hallways or in the quad. And that's why when I arrived at Hendrix, the first thing I did, which was also the first thing I did when I arrived at SMU, was to vow to take every faculty member to lunch in my first year. I know there are 200 plus faculty members here. I had 275 at Dedman College at SMU, so I can manage it, you know. I'll gain some weight, but I want to get to know everyone. And I want to have opportunities to meet with every staff department as well and invest in building those relationships as well. One of the things I also learned at Hendrix is even if you make that effort and do that outreach in the beginning, that can't be the end of it. You have to keep feeding and building those relationships. So after a couple of years, I started taking faculty members out again because I really wanted to hear from them from a new perspective. How are things going? What do you need? What can I do? What can we be working on together? So communications is a mixture of what works on a sort of campus-wide or community-wide scale on this campus, as well as investing a lot of energy in individuals. One of the other things I'm proud of that we did at Hendrix is an outreach, series of outreach events called Bill's Barbecue Tour. I was really eager to meet alums across Arkansas, to build bridges to small communities in Arkansas that maybe Hendrix hadn't had a presence in for a very long time, and also to reach out to United Methodist churches, since we were a United Methodist institution. So I'm a huge barbecue fan, so I said, let's eat barbecue in every county in Arkansas. There's 72 counties in Arkansas. That's a lot of pigs to kill. But I made a great start in it. I do about one a month. I'd go to some churches on a weekday for lunch. I'd go to others on a weekend and attend the services, then have a big barbecue afterwards, invite all the Hendrix alums and parents and friends and the whole congregation from the Methodist Church, feed them up well, and then talk about the wonderful things happening on campus. It was a wonderful way to build bridges, to meet people, and to hear fantastic stories.
This is from our streaming community. As more universities start to make the decision to do away with tenure, what are your thoughts on the issue?
So I will tell you, if you address me, you know, it's fine if you address me as Dr. Tsutsui. I would much rather be Professor Tsutsui. Because honestly, the greatest accomplishment in my career was not getting that PhD, it was earning tenure. That I felt was a really, really high bar, and I am proud of that. I started in the faculty ranks. I cannot imagine an academic world without the tenure system. I think it's extremely important to academic freedom. I think it's important to the teaching and research that goes on in our campuses, and it's one of those traditions that cannot be dropped lightly. I am thrilled that most American colleges and universities have stuck through it, through some very tough times, but I expect it is going to be under assault in the coming years. It is going to take a lot of convincing for me, though, to ever think about something like that.
Well, we're just about out of time, so I think this is going to be the last question.
Okay.
But it's a nice way to maybe summarize and also to, I think, touch on the most important trait that a president brings to a university. Tell us a little bit about your leadership style, and what about your style makes you different than perhaps others?
That's a real interesting question. You know, let me first of all say to you, I don't have anything as grand as a leadership philosophy. I have never taken a course on leadership. I have never read a book specifically about leadership. I have read books that I didn't know about leadership that really were about leadership. So I don't know if anyone's out there has read the book Watership Down, which is about rabbits in England, like talking rabbits in England. It's a book about leadership, you know? It's like, it blew my mind when I read that. I learned so much from doing that. For me, leadership is really learned experience. It's from being the captain of my 6th grade bowling team. It's from being president of a top 100 national liberal arts college. It's from serving on the small local nonprofit board. It's things I've learned about people and organizations over time. I could run through a lot of different things that I think are important in that. I think listening is incredibly important. A leader has to be a great listener, and not just the words, but the subtext beneath those words. You know, people tend to be very careful when they talk to someone in authority, and especially when they talk to a college president. People are often a little bit intimidated. So what's important sometimes is not so much what they say, but what they don't say. So you really have to be careful in listening for that. Communicating is incredibly important, I think. I've been so frustrated by administrators over my career who are sort of like sphinxes, you know, who will not answer a question directly, who will not engage. I really want to engage with people. I want to talk and discuss and debate. And I want people with ideas very different from my own to bring them to the table and challenge me. For me, that is enriching, and it's also fun as well. I think one really important thing for any leader, and this is something which I feel very strongly, you know, data is important to me. Balance sheets are important to me. Getting the financial numbers balanced is important to me. But as my wife says, I have a soft center. Heart is important to me. That, to me, is one of the most important things that a college president can have. Someone who really appreciates the educational process, who tears up when they hear about a student who's overcome adversity and a lot of tough times in life to get there to their degree, someone who really appreciates a faculty and staff member going above and beyond in a way that is not going to get them a big pat in the back or a huge raise to help a student and improve our society. I still feel it here when I see the kind of things that happen on the Missouri Southern campus every day. And I love telling those stories too. And I would love to be the ambassador that takes those stories from Missouri Southern to the larger world.
Dr. Tsutsui, on behalf of the Missouri Southern family, and it is a family, thank you so much for your time with us today. We really appreciate getting to know you a little bit better. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Tsutsui.
It was good fun. Thank you all so much.